Hi and hello. Who wants to go on a field trip again? Just like the previous Magic School Bus game we covered, it's time to join Miss Frizzle and the gang, although this time we're going backwards since the one previously covered was the third game released in the series, and it's crazy how much changed between that one and this one just from this introduction alone. But today we're taking a darker, deeper tone in the series. Okay, so it's not actually really horror, but personally I am a very squeamish person, so this is horrifying to me. Plus, in this season, it's very important to know where the proper areas are so the murder will be successful. You're welcome, Ghostface. So, fortunately or unfortunately, this doesn't give you too much information on how to murder anyone, but it does go over an overlay of several different important parts inside your body. Now, I'll give it credit for the fact that this is currently a 30-year-old game, and therefore the graphics for this time are pretty impressive, but after playing this, I feel like the other media had a better hold on the subject. That's right, kids. This idea was everywhere within the 90s, and there were several different pieces of media where this all happened. Disney had a ride called Body Wars, for example. There's this cursed, disgusting Osmosis Jones film and series that came out at the turn of the millennium, and there was not only one episode of the Magic School Bus covering this, but two. I'm sure there's plenty of other examples besides those, but you get the point. But don't even think about shrinking down like Ant-Man and exploding into Thanos. Is this why people have a word kink now? I don't know if I want the answer to that. You start out in the classroom and right away they make sure that it's very clear that kids understand that it's physically impossible to go into another person's body.
A school bus can enter someone's body and kids can go on a tour. True or false? False. That could not happen in real life, not even to Arnold. But we had to make it happen. Otherwise, this science adventure would have been about a trip to a science museum instead of a trip through the body.
We're going to do something with Ms. Frizzle that you could never do in real life. For example, you could never really drive a bus into someone's mouth. And I don't care how little you are, you can't go scuba diving in somebody's small intestine. You know this, and I know this, and we all know you're smart enough to know what's real and what's not.
I blame this as one of the potential influences for anyone who has a word kink. Because this is one of the first ones within the series, it's a lot more chaotic, and you can tell that they really haven't figured out everything that they were going to add within the later games. For being made in 1994 with the limited CGI graphics they had, they still did a phenomenal job. And there are some areas that were very uncomfortable to see. The way this game is set up is a lot different from the Ocean one. Besides all the random things you can click on within the classroom, all of the games are available right away compared to finding them while exploring the human body. They're there, but like I said, this can be very chaotic in navigating. There's one separate minigame that's only available within the classroom, which is rebuilding a skeleton again. You get an outline to follow, but this is still insanely challenging. All of the bones look very similar to each other, and because they're all scattered on top of each other, it's hard to figure out which ones to pick. I needed to use the hint button, which shows the skeleton all put together, and that did help a little bit, but it still took way too long for me to figure out as an adult. You might count one more activity as an additional minigame too, because the only way to access the rest of the main body minigames is to pass through this first. All the body games are underneath the desk, and you have to move all the cans and garbage to the trash and recycle respectively. But it's not really something to be able to do repeatedly. It's still educational though, of course. Then we get to our main body games. Down the hatch is a stomach theme game. It's a bit of a Tetris clone where you have to match a certain amount of items to create a quote-unquote balanced diet to clear it out / digest from the stomach. I was playing it like I was supposed to match the same pictures together, so I didn't do it correctly, and unfortunately, just like the last game, these are always super glitchy, so I didn't get too far through many of the games before it froze or crashed. Chatterbox is the mouth game. The objective is to match the pictures to match the word Miss Frizzle is speaking. I kept getting the first and last syllables mixed up, but again, with the limited graphics and animation, it's very hard to truly match on the first try. Otherwise, it's a simple and cute activity. Tunnel Vision was the intestine game, and it's one of those terrible pipe games I hate. If you've seen my Postopia video, you'll understand. Thankfully, I was able to actually complete this one. Also, it's freaking terrifying that these kids are literally running through an intestine. The small intestine version is basically the same, except there's 3 options to always pick from, and there's a ball going through it instead of kids. Ticker Ball is our lungs game, and it's a standard pinball game. The design is cool, very typically 90s, but hey, how's that for a high schooler? Air Combat is a nose game. It's a shooting game against viruses, but because of the way I was playing, this was super glitchy and really slow, so it didn't work well at all. Cross Wires is the ears game, and it's another cute little activity where you have to match the images to the correct wire, which also makes it a bit of a mini memory game in a way too. Liver Lever, try saying that 3 times fast, is obviously the liver game, and it's a bit of a Plinko style game where you have to control all the different levers in order to get the matching balls in the cups below. Finally, there's Kiddin' Around, which is a kidneys game. The objective here is to maneuver the bus while the blue, I think their cells, are blown up to get through the car wash and across to the end. It's another simple strategy game, and that's all the arcade style ones. Like I said, it's nice that they have this in the classroom, so you don't have to go through all the different areas looking for the one specific game you want to replay. Now that that's done, however, it's time to go into Arnold. But first I gotta make my driver's license again. This is seriously nightmare fuel. Why is everyone excited about this? Again, I blame this as a potential sexual awakening for all the Vor fans. So now that we're inside of Arnold, we start out in his mouth inside the bus. This time, things are a lot more simplistic. Compared to the newer edition with the ocean, there's no activities within the back of the bus or even video reports. That's probably a good thing, though. All of the kids also remain inside the bus the whole time, too, which is probably another good thing. Although within the animated episode, they do end up going out of the bus and swimming in digestive juice scuba gear.
How was I supposed to know she'd have digestive juice scuba gear?
That whole idea seriously freaks me out so much. Back in the front of the bus, you're able to do science experiments with Arnold's body, see a map of where you are inside Arnold. However, unlike in the ocean where you can use that to switch between areas, you can't travel around this way. There's also a TV that allows you to control Arnold's movements, and there's a little area that tells you general facts about the body, specifically the area that you're in. Technically, this game goes between 2D and CGI animation, and the CGI animation can get pretty graphic. Again, for its time period, it was very well done. The only way to travel for the most part is through the body scientifically. So you go from the mouth to the esophagus, then to the stomach, and this animation generally grosses me out so much. After the stomach is the small intestine, followed by the large intestine. There's also one more way to travel between the areas, and that's through the nervous system. Here's the shortcut to get access to everywhere: the lungs, liver, heart,
to the heart,
nose, kidneys,
introducing the kidneys.
brain,
Fast, I'll make it plain. Now we're in the brain.
and skin. Here's also where we get this knockoff reference to hyperspeed Star Wars style. And this is also an example where you can see where the games are within each of the sections, but not every game is as easy to spot throughout the body. And that's all the areas that you can explore within Arnold's body. There's no animation that shows you how they exit Arnold's body. Instead, when you're done, you just appear back in the classroom again. The other positive thing is after you quit, Liz marks off all the areas that you visited to make sure you completed everything. As happy as I am to be able to find a way to play it, it does take away from how glitchy it can be, especially when I've had to restart it several times to get to a section. One can only hope that they could remaster it. I don't know if there is a fan base still for these games, but I hope there is. I really love how truly educational and true edutainment these games offer us, and I think the Magic School Bus as a franchise is still very, very popular. Once again, I gotta give it some credit because this is one of the earliest games from the series, so they didn't have everything figured out. They were still experimenting and they did a really great job for the beginning. I did love all the additions that we had though in the Exploring the Ocean one, but I do understand that exploring the ocean is a lot more fun to do than being inside of a human body. I know, I always say I'm a walking contradiction because I adore horror movies, but I hate gore. And there are parts of it that I can handle because it comes with the territory, but there are still certain movies that I will watch, and now I'm desensitized to it because I know it isn't real, but it's still not my favorite. First example, Rebo the Genetic Opera, because that's all about the human body and repossessing it, but it's still one of my favorites because of the fact that it's a fantastic rock opera. The music hits hard. I have listened to it forever, and so I will sit and endure the really painful scenes to enjoy the storyline. But with that, I think it's time to end this field trip, and you can stay tuned because I do have some real Halloween/horror games to talk about very soon. But until then, I will see you in the next one.